Hi, my name is Lisa Salberg, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Association. In this clip, we are going to discuss being newly diagnosed with HCM. So, a little bit of context here. I'm not in a lab coat, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, and I don't play one on TV. I'm a patient with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. I was diagnosed when I was 12 years old. So, short version is, I have been exactly where you are. And I'm here to tell the tale over 35 years later. So in this clip, we're going to talk about a couple of things that you're going to have to learn, get used to, and process. So first step, take a deep breath. Understand that everything that you're going to see on the HCMA site and elsewhere on the internet, or hear from other people on Facebook, or learn on Twitter, or hear in a doctor's office, every piece of HCM is likely not going to be your experience with HCM. You're going to be a little part of those stories. So don't get overwhelmed. Sit back, listen a lot, take some notes, and prepare yourself to be a really good consumer of healthcare product and an educated patient in your disease state. So let's talk about the first thing that happens when you are diagnosed and it sets in, and it's fear. And to say it's not real, I think, is underestimating your own ability to process fear. So fear can do two things. It can stop you and move you to inaction, or it can propel you into action. And I'm hoping that you'll take that little fear energy and you'll put it into action. What action should you take? Well, number one, watch videos like this and start here and learn. And you want to make sure that you're setting up a good path for yourself and that you're really focused on what needs to be done next. Don't get ahead of yourself. Let's go slow through this process. The reality is your heart has probably been like this a long time, and we now know it's like this. And if it's your child, you're just finding out, you've got some time to learn. So take some time, get a good team together, and let's learn together, and let's go to the next step. So let's take fear, turn it into action, and let's move on. The next thing I want to talk about is identifying what you need next. Now, some people are seeing a general physician, probably not the best person to treat your HCM, because HCM is a complex disorder, and we don't want to put too much on a GP or a pediatrician who doesn't really have a subspecialty in this area. So then you might go to a cardiologist or an electrophysiologist. And in your local community, you need a good cardiologist. It is really important to have a good relationship with a cardiologist who you can communicate with and who's willing to understand HCM. So we'll start there. Beyond that, you will want to find, at some point in your journey with HCM, an HCM Center of Excellence where you can get a consult with a highly knowledgeable person in the field of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. There are over 30 centers right now that the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Association, us, have helped to put together, organize, or support. So you'll want to look at the list here on the website of where those programs are. Unfortunately, they're not in everybody's backyard, and sometimes it requires travel. And eventually, we hope to have a program or two in each state, but that's going to still take some time because it's not like opening up a franchise restaurant and saying, come here, we'll serve you. You need a lot of components to make a good HCM program, which you can learn about elsewhere on this page, on this site. So I'm going to make a little bit of an analogy here, and I think people will understand this. We travel a lot in this country. We travel a lot around the world, and we choose to travel for lots of different reasons. Most of them are business or social vacation. I'm going to tell you that choosing to travel to Disney World and spending all of that money to go to see a mouse, we might want to rethink our priorities for a year or so and say, instead of that big family vacation or that big expenditure, maybe I'm going to invest in my own heart. and I'm going to travel to a specialist. You don't necessarily need to keep going back to a specialist every 6 months or a year. You might be able to check in with them once, get a plan, work with your local cardiologist to work that plan forward, and then when things change, you might check back in with the center. If anything is, needing to be reevaluated, you check in. I recommend every about 2 years or so to check in with your HCM Center of Excellence. Our knowledge changes, clinical trials change, what's going on in the world changes, maybe something new's come up just for you. So check in every about 2 years or so. The other thing we want to talk about is going slow. I know a lot of people get diagnosed and they want to fix it. I'm here with a reality check. There is no cure for hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. We can make symptoms feel better by medicating them and treating them. We can protect against sudden cardiac arrest if you're at risk by putting in a defibrillator. We can take away some symptoms with surgery called a myectomy or an alcohol septal ablation if you're the right candidate. But that doesn't mean we're getting rid of HCM. It means we're getting rid of a piece of the problem, but the heart walls are still sick and they still have a problem. They're still formed incorrectly with bad genetic code. The problem actually occurs way down deep in something called the cardiac sarcomere in most cases. And that's really the core of the problem. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't fail to do anything. You just developed a genetic disorder, just like me. The other thing I want to talk about real quickly in this newly diagnosed segment is the big bad wolf in the room, and that's sudden cardiac arrest. Everybody's afraid of it. That fear I told you about earlier, we're all afraid of sudden cardiac arrest. The reality is about 1% of people with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy will experience a cardiac arrest every year. There are high-risk subsets that we're able to identify, and thanks to the fantastic work of amazing researchers around this world, we are able to identify risk much better than we were able to 20 years ago. Much better than we were able to 10 years ago. So where will we be in another 10 years? Probably a lot better off than we are today. So we're getting better. You'll learn about risk assessment in other clips and in other parts of the website. So I know you're scared. I know you're overwhelmed. When I was 12, I was feeling what you're feeling. And then later in life, I changed roles and became a caregiver and a parent to people with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy too. I have many members of my family affected. It's not always fun. It's not always easy. We function a little different than maybe some other families because we take precautions and we know what to do to protect ourselves. You'll learn that along the way. So as you embark on this journey with HCM, understand a few things. This is a marathon, not a sprint. You're going to learn how to live with a chronic illness, and that's what HCM really is. We want to make sure that you're not adding to the problem by adding other chronic illnesses on top of it. Obesity is not a friend to HCM, diabetes, coronary artery disease. If you start to develop these issues or you already have them, we really want to work aggressively with your healthcare providers to minimize these other risk factors. So if there are weight issues, please work with a dietitian and your healthcare provider to help pull back some of that weight. If you have diabetes, please work with your healthcare providers to manage it. Please keep a heart-healthy diet and don't develop diseases that you could otherwise avoid, such as high cholesterol, hypertension. However, if you have a predisposition to a familial form of high cholesterol or hypertension, you're going to want to work to aggressively work on keeping those numbers in check as well. So it's not always an easy path. It is a bit of a disciplined path once you learn it. So try to stay on that. Another big question for the newly diagnosed is, what about sports? Well, if you're a professional athlete, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is really not a good disease for you. In fact, in most professional sports, you will be disqualified from competition. This also includes athletic activity at the high school and college level. But recreational athletics is, for most, an okay thing to do. You're going to need to check with your doctor. For most, it's actually encouraged to be active. There's actually some content on our website that leads you to some really great exercise programs from our friends up in Toronto. I encourage you to take a look at that. It kind of talks about what's safe to do. And I know a lot of people are very interested in that. And in fact, right now we're doing a clinical trial on identifying who's doing what in terms of exercise. Please check out the research section of the website to learn more about that. So we're going to learn together. We're going to grow together. And hopefully 20 years from now, we'll be doing what we are doing today. And that is supporting those who have hypertrophic cardiomyopathy and their families. So where does the HCMA fit into all of this? Good question. For the past 20 years, we've been working with families like yours and healthcare providers around the world to improve the care of those with HCM. We provide information, support, advocacy. We have member services that you can learn more about elsewhere in the website. We're here for everybody. If there's something that you want access to on the website that you don't have access to, the easiest way to do that is become a member. Members support this organization and keep us moving forward and ensure that we're here to help you going down the road. So please look at the membership page here. There's a lot of content on this page. This is definitely a one-stop shop to learn a lot about HCM and direct you to additional resources. So I hope you become a part of our community, an active part of our community. You can do so by A, becoming a member, B, registering for our message board. Now, not to confuse you too much, but on this website, there are two types of registration. One for your membership registration and log into this portion of the site. When you go to the community forum, the message board, that's a separate login. And we've done that on purpose. What we've done is we've created a place where you can go and talk freely with a screen name as opposed to your real name. We're just concerned about your privacy, and we want to make sure that if you want to talk about details about your HCM with other people with HCM, that you can do so in an environment where your employer or maybe family members cannot necessarily search you because you log in with a screen name and thereby your anonymity is protected. So I'm sorry about the complication of a double login, but it's to protect your medical data and your personal experience. You can share what you want with whom you want. You can also join us on our Facebook page, and you can like us, and you can kind of keep up with our activities there, as well as a number of Facebook groups. We're also on LinkedIn. We've got a very active community. If you're more of an industrial person or, somebody from pharma or industry, and you want to participate with us over there, by all means, join us there. But this is really a newly diagnosed video, so it's really not for you. So this is the HCMA. This is your starting point. I know you're scared. I know you're overwhelmed. But it is a disease that is compatible with a normal life. You can live a pretty good life with HCM. You can be normal. I don't like the word normal, but you can live a pretty normal existence. So take your time. Take a breath. Start going through the website. Learn all you can, and make sure you have a really good healthcare team. Please see the HCMA Recognized Center of Excellence page for some tips on where you can go for better care or good care. Have a great day. Stay in touch with us here at the HCMA.